me start recording. Okay, we're good here. Um, as I'm going through the problems, y'all, if I'm doing something that doesn't make any sense, or or I'm going too fast, or whatever it happens to be, let me know, and I'll slow it down, or I'll figure out what we need to do. Okay. So let me take a look at number 8 here. So number 8 says a projectile is launched from ground level with an initial velocity v0 feet per second. It says neglecting air resistance, its height in feet after 2 seconds after launch is given by, and they give us an equation right here. And it says find the time so the projectile is going to reach a height of 80 feet and when they're going to hit the ground. And they're telling me that v0 is 96 feet per second. So the first thing I'm going to do, y'all, I'm going to write my equation that they gave us. That's negative 16t squared. For v0, notice they gave me the number 96, so that's 96t. Okay. And as I'm doing this problem, the one thing I want to mention is, I don't know why they use the letter S, but this equation here, or that letter S, refers to the height, and the t is my time in seconds, okay? So when I look at part A and it says find the time when we're going to reach a height of 80 feet, what that means I'm going to do, y'all, is where I had that letter S, we're now going to put the number 80. So I'm going to write it so that it looks like this. Okay, anytime I'm solving a problem, y'all, that has a t squared or an x squared or a y squared, I want to get 0 on one side of the equation. Doesn't really matter what side, but I want to get 0 on one side. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to move this 16t squared over, and I'm also going to move the 96t. Because we're moving those pieces, the signs of our numbers are going to change. This used to be a negative 16, so now it's going to become a positive 16t squared. This positive 96 is going to be a negative 96t. This 80 was already on that side, so it stays a positive 80. And since we moved both these pieces over, now we're left with the number 0. Okay. So in doing this kind of a problem, the first thing I want to see if I can do is if I can actually factor anything out of here. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do here, y'all, is I'm going to factor out the number 16, because I think 16 will go into every one of those pieces. So if I factor it out from here, I'm just left with a t squared. I'm just going to take my calculator, y'all. I'm just doing this on my phone real quick. And I'm doing, what's 96 divided by 16? And I'm coming up with 6, so it's going to be a negative 6t. I'll do the same thing here. What's 80 divided by 16? And that goes in nice and neat into 5. Before we go on, are we good on how we got to where we are? And Bala, I'll definitely do number 37. Okay, good. Just making sure that y'all are okay how I'm taking out that 16. I'm really just dividing it into each of those pieces, okay? So now, I want you to think about or look at what I have right here. This is the part that I really want to see if I can factor out. And the way I factor this piece is if this number here is a 1, which it is, don't worry about the 16 for right now. But inside the parentheses, that number is a 1. So I'm going to say 1 times 5 is just 5. And I'm going to think of all the numbers that I know that multiply to 5. Well, the only numbers that I know multiply to 5 are 1 and 5. I want those numbers to add up to a negative 6. So if I make this into a minus 1 and a minus 5, when I multiply them, I still get a positive 5. But if I were to add them together, I would get my negative 6. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, look, I'm going to leave that 16 alone, and then we're going to write our two factors out. So they're both going to have a t, and then these numbers are just going to go right here, minus 1 and minus 5. So when I set each of these parts, I'm setting those parts equal to 0 because those have the letters. They have the variable parts, okay? I don't have to worry about this right now, okay? So don't worry about it. I'm just going to let t minus 0, or t minus 1 equals 0, and t minus 5 equals 0. So when I move that 1 over, it becomes a positive 1. And when I move that 5 over, it becomes a positive 5. And so here are my two answers, 1 and 5. So when I come back to my answer over here, y'all, for part A, I'm just going to put 1 comma 5. That's all I'm really doing. I'm not putting anything else, just 1 and 5. One thing I want to mention to y'all, and if you look right here, it just says use the comma to separate the answers. Notice when we did the problem here, y'all, I got t equals 1 and t equals 5. But here, I'm just putting the numbers 1 and 5. If, for whatever reason, when you're taking your test, y'all, remember, you're going to, once you submit it, you'll know how you did. So if on the test, if you're like, you know, I did everything right, but I wrote it like this when I put my answers in. I put t equals 1 and t equals 5. It's going to mark it wrong because it's only asking you to put the numbers. But if this is what you write, take a picture of it, send it to me, I'll give you credit, okay? If everything is good, but you made a mistake, like in the sense that you put the t's when I don't got to put the t's, or if you made a mistake and you put parentheses and there really shouldn't be any, if it's something minor like that, let me know, okay? I'll give you credit for the problem. I don't want you to get the problem wrong because of how you entered it in when you did all the work correctly, okay? So now, look, there's a second part to the question, and the second part says, when do we reach the, right here. When do we reach the ground? Okay. So now, look, I'm going to come back to my original problem, which was right here. And remember we said S stands for? S stands for the height. Well, when we're on the ground, the height is 0. So I'm going to take that same equation that we started off with, but I'm going to set it equal to 0. Okay. Now, since I already have 0 on this side, y'all, I can factor out from here. I can factor out a negative 16 and a t, and I'll be left with t minus 6. Okay? And then we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to take each of these parts right here and set each of them equal to 0. So here, I'm just going to divide by negative 16 on both sides, and I come up with t equals 0. This one, when I move that 6 over, is going to become a positive 6. So again, I'm coming up with two answers. Before I write those answers in, I want to come back and I want to look at the original equation. The original equation right over here, I'm going to highlight it for us so we can see it. It says, when does it return to the ground? So I want you to think about, like, visually what's happening. Think about like we're shooting a rocket, okay? So we're shooting a rocket and the rocket's going to do something like that, okay? And I'm going to make this up. I'm going to say that somewhere right around here, here's my x-axis, right, or my y-axis. I'm going to make it so it's right next to it, like this. And that's my kitty, guys. He's upset because I was gone all day. Here's my 80 feet. Remember, we had the two answers. We had 1 second and we had 5 seconds. The question is saying, when do we return to the ground? Well, notice when we first started at 0, we were on the ground. When do we hit the ground again? At 6 seconds. So for part B, because it's asking me when we return, I'm just going to put the number 6 right there. Okay. So I kind of wanted to draw the picture just so you can get an idea, you know, what's happening. We're shooting this rocket, it's going in the air, and then it comes back down. Okay. So let's see. I want to make sure we're all good here. Yeah. So Bala, something like that happens, and I'll check your work, Bala, before I'm done. Don't let me forget. So before we log off, just, you know, turn on your mic real quick. Acer, can you check my quiz too? And yeah, if you put 501, something minor like that. Sometimes my lab is a little picky, but if you did the problem correctly, I don't want to not give you credit for it. Okay. But anyway, that's how I do number 8. Let me get to number 12. Okay, so guys, let's take a look at number 12. At any point in time, y'all, if I'm doing something, again, if it doesn't make sense, just tell me, okay? I want to make sure we're good here. Let's see. I thought I heard something in the chat. You're welcome, Paula. Definitely, no problem. So let's take a look at number 12. So guys, number 12, what I have here, and again, I know that my problem probably looks a little bit different from yours. What I want to mention, y'all, before I go on to do number 12, let me show you all something here real quick. So let me pull this up. Here we go. Okay, and let me see. I'm gonna stop sharing this part. because I want to share. I sent you guys an announcement yesterday on Blackboard. Here we go. You can see it now. So I want you to look at this part right here. I'm kind of trying to highlight it. It won't let me write on my screen. But right here it says test 1 has 20 questions that come directly from the review. So let me stop sharing this and let me come back to my question. What I want to point out is, okay, what I'm doing, like my problem here, your problem might look slightly different. On the test, who knows? Maybe you might actually get the same question, but you're going to get it if this question is on the test. But you're going to get something that looks really, really similar, okay? So when I say I pick them directly from the test, the numbers change, but the problem, in essence, is still the same. All right, so anyway, anytime I have a problem that has square roots, y'all, my first step, always square both sides. When we do that, the square and the square root will cancel these pieces. That's going to leave me with a 9x plus 79. Now, this piece here, I need to square it. So the best way for me to square it is to write 2x plus 17 and another 2x plus 17. So let's go ahead and FOIL this out. Multiply, so 2x and 2x, 4x squared. 2x and 17 is a 34x. We've already done that one. Let's do this one now. There's another 34x. 17 times 17, excuse me. Oh, let me see. 17 squared is 289. Okay. Now, I'm going to just keep working here. I can put those together. So that's a 68x and a plus 289. Okay. Now, like we said earlier, y'all, when we have an x squared, we want to get 0 on one side. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to minus 9x and I'm going to minus 79. Okay. So those are going to cancel. That's going to leave me with my 0. Let's see, 68 minus 9 is 59. So this is a 59x. 289 minus 79 should be a 210. And let me see. Okay, so guys, now that I get to this step right here, what I want to do is I need to see if I can solve this thing. So I probably could factor it out, but if I was going to factor this, I'd have to say, what's 4 times 210? Oh, I don't know. That's 840. And look, I'm going to be looking for pairs of numbers that are going to add up to 59. I might be here for a really, really long time. So instead of me doing that, I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So remember, when I'm using the quadratic formula, these are the types of equations I'm solving, right? And so I'm going to do a little stare and compare because I need to find what's my A, what's my B, and what's my C. So A looks like it's 4. B is 59, and C is 210. And then remember, y'all, on the email that I sent you all, the announcement that I sent you guys yesterday, I have the formula sheet there for you guys, and on that formula sheet, I have the quadratic formula. So you don't have to worry about memorizing it because the formula is there. But I did show you all the little song you can do to memorize it, but you don't need to. Okay, so the first thing I do, I write down the formula. Second step is I'm going to start plugging my numbers in. Okay, so look, we have a negative right here, so I'm going to put a negative. The number B, 59. Plus or minus B squared, so I'm going to go 59 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Okay, so guys, I want to see if I can do something. I was doing this earlier in one of my classes, and I want to see if this is going to work for you guys. Let me see. Let me go like this. Yes. Entire screen. Let me share it this way, and let's see if this works out. Okay, can you guys, if you can just turn on your mic, one of you, can you still see the screen? Can you guys still see everything I'm writing?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure it's still working. Okay, so let me see. Let me do this. Okay, so what I want to do now, because I think if I do it this way, I think my calculator will come up. So let's see. Is the calculator coming up here to y'all? Can you see the calculator too?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, good. So look, guys, I'm going to write negative 59 plus or minus, and then when I'm going to do this, I'm going to use my calculator. So I'm just going to go, what's 59 squared? Oh, I don't know, big number, 3481. Okay, now I'm going to multiply these numbers together. So again, look what we have. We have a negative 4 times 4 times 210. And I'm coming up with a negative 3360 all over. I don't need a calculator for this. I know that's 8. Okay. And then let's see, x equals, let's see, negative 59 plus or minus. Let's see, if I can do my calculator again, I'm going to take 3481 minus 3360, and that's giving me 121 over 8. Okay. And I'm still going to keep going here, y'all. Negative 59 plus or minus. So look what we're trying to do. We're trying to take the square root of 121. So I'm going to go second square root 121. Let me close my parentheses. It equals, oh, that's nice and pretty. That's 11. Okay, when I get to this step, y'all, this is where I'm going to write out my two answers. One of them is going to be negative 59 plus 11 over 8. And the other one is going to be negative 59 minus 11 over 8. Okay. So this one here is going to give me a negative 48 over 8. That's negative 6. This one here is going to give me a negative 70 over 8. I need to reduce this fraction here, y'all. So I can divide them both by 2. That's a negative 35 over 4. Okay, so we came up with two answers, right? All right, now that I got my two answers, when I come back to the original problem, so let me scroll all the way back up here. We're going to solve our answer. Okay, we got to check it, guys. Anytime, I know it doesn't tell me anything about checking my answer, but anytime I have a problem that has a square root, I always got to check my answer, okay? So the original problem we had was right here. It was the square root of 9x plus 79 equals 2x plus 17. One of the answers that we came up with was negative 6. So again, what does that mean? I'm going to come back over here, and everywhere I have an x, I'm going to plug in the number negative 6. Okay. So let's see, that's a negative 54 plus 79. That's negative 12 plus 17. This here should be 25. And I know the square root of 25 is just 5. Over here, when I put these together, negative 12 plus 17 is also 5. This checks out. So far, I know that negative 6 is going to work. Okay. And now I still have another one to check. Okay. So look, let me write out the original problem again. Right there. Square root of 9x plus 79 equals 2x plus 17. The other answer we came up with was negative 35 over 4. Okay, I'm going to be honest, it's not a pretty answer to check, but I don't want you to get too nervous because we can still do this. So I'm writing the left side, y'all. When I'm plugging my number in, I'm writing it as if everything is a fraction. Okay. So again, I'm going to do this just like I did before. I'm going to take my calculator. That's what we got. I'm going to say, what's 9 times negative 35? Oh, I don't know, negative 315 over 4 plus, now I want you to look at this part. I need to get a common denominator here. And if this denominator is 4, I need to make this one into 4 as well. So I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to say, what's 79 times 4? Oh, that's 316. So now when I add these together, 315 negative and 316 positive is 1 over 4. And the square root of 1/4 is just 1 over 2. So we did the left side. let's go ahead and do the right. So this is 2 over 1. Remember what number we're plugging in? Negative 35 over 4. Again, I'm going to think of that as 17 over 1. The first thing I'll actually do here, y'all, is reduce those. So that's a negative 35 over 2. Again, I want to get a common denominator. And if this denominator is a 2, I'm going to multiply those by 2. So 17 times 2 is 34. And again, we're almost done here. Look, I owe you 35, and I only have 34. I still owe you 1. So now, when I look at my two answers, I look at this answer and this answer, they're not the same. So all that tells me is that the only answer that works is negative 6. Now, I know that was a really, really long problem to do, but I want to ask you all a question. Look at number 12 and look at number 11. Doesn't number 11 look kind of similar to number 12 in the sense that we have a square root here also? So what I want to point out, y'all, if I look at number 11, and I know, Liz, the question you asked me was how to do number 12, but I want to show you guys how to do number 11, and it was x minus the square root of, I already forgot, 24 minus 2x. Okay, 24 minus 2x equals 0. So the first thing I really want to do here, y'all, I want to move this guy over to that side. Because anytime I'm doing these problems that have the square roots, I got to get the square root part by itself. In the problem that we did earlier, right over here, this piece, the square root part, was already by itself. That's why we said, let's go ahead and square both sides. So this one, I got to do that extra step. But now, we can square both sides. So look, this is going to give me x squared. Remember, the square and the square root cancel. 24 minus 2x. Because this problem has an x squared, I want to bring these folks back to that side. That's a plus 2x and a minus 24. Okay. And then now we can factor this because that's a 1. So 1 times negative 24 is still a negative 24. So when I make my list, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. And since it's going to be negative, one of the numbers in these pairs is going to have to be negative, and I want to end up with a positive 2. So look, if I make that a negative 4 and a positive 6, there's my negative 24, and if I add them together, there's my positive 2, right? So look what we have now. We have x and x. We got a minus 4 and a plus 6. So then we're going to set each of those parts equal to 0. So when I move that 4 over, it becomes a positive. When I move that 6 over, it becomes a negative, right? Just like we did before, I got to check my answer, okay? So look, let's check our answer. Here are the two numbers that we came up with, 4 and negative 6. Here's my original problem. So I'm going to write x minus the square root of 24 minus 2x equals 0. Let's plug in 4. So let's see. Oops. Went too fast there. Put it. Okay, now I need a minus. Let's see. 24 minus 2 times 4 is 8. 24 minus 8 is 16. And the square root of 16 is 4. And 4 minus 4 is, in fact, equal to 0. So far, we know that 4 is working. I'm going to try now negative 6. So I'm going to come back over here, and all I'm going to do is replace these numbers with a negative 6. Negative 6. Here we go. So this is negative 6 minus 24 minus 2 times minus 6 is a plus 12. 24 and 12 is 36. And the square root of 36 is 6. But notice, minus 6 and minus 6 is a negative 12. Look at the number we have on the right side. Yeah, that's not 0. So that tells me that this number doesn't work. The only one we want to use is number 4, right? So if I was doing number 11, I would pick, my answer there would be number 4. Now, I'm going to ask y'all a question. So let me see. Um, Guys, between number 11 and number 12, and let me kind of zoom out a little bit so you can see how we did number 11. And I know I'm zooming out a whole lot, but I want to point out that all this right here was number 11. And then this one over here was number 12. Which one seemed less difficult to do? Did 11 seem easier? Did 12 seem easier? Did they both hard? What do y'all think?
11 is easier?
11's easier, right? So guys, the reason I'm telling you this, because you guys are here, is when you're taking the test, if I did put one of those questions on there, I would have put number 11. I would not have put number 12, because number 12 is just takes so long to do, okay? So I just wanted to show you guys that. Okay, so the next one I'm looking at my list, Carlos, is number 37, and then Liz, I will get to 42 and those other ones as well. So guys, let me scroll down to 47, and I'll share my screen with you guys in a second too. Let me see, 37, yes, right here. So let me do that with you guys. Go like this, the entire screen. Share it. And yes, okay, you guys can see this here. All right. So, y'all, I'm looking here at 37, and it says two functions f and g are related by the equation g of x is equal to f of x plus 2 minus 1. Use the numerical representation of f to make a numerical representation of g. Okay, so we can do that. So I'm going to make a new chart, y'all. And I know there's one already there for me, but I'm going to make my own. Okay. And so the first thing I want us to do, I want us to look at this piece right here. So it says g of x is equal to f of x plus 2 minus 1. Okay. And so the first thing I want to point out is, what does that part mean? And give me a second, y'all. I want to see if, I can share something with you guys, and I think y'all can still see everything that's going on. So here, you know what? Here's my formula sheet. This is the one I want to look at. Okay, so here we go. Just want to make sure this is still coming out. Oh man, back that way. Yeah, I think you guys can see it. Okay, so oops, lost it. Here we go. Let me look at my formula sheet right here. This is the part that I want to look at. If you look at this first part under horizontal translations where it says y equals f of x plus c, it says we're going to move our graph c spaces, okay? So the reason I wanted to point that out is if you look at this part right here, this tells me I'm going to move my graph to the left 2 spaces. So what that means, y'all, is if I'm moving my graph to the left 2 spaces, I'm going to take each of these x values and I got to move them to the left. So the way I move them to the left is I subtract 2 from every one of those numbers. And I know you might say, but it has a plus 2. But because we're going to the left, we actually have to subtract 2 from each of those numbers. So look, 1 minus 2, negative 1. 3 minus 2, positive 1. 5 minus 2, 3. 7 minus 2, 5. 9 minus 2, 7. 11 minus 2, 9. Okay. Now, I'm going to look at this part down here. See how I have that minus 1, and that minus 1 is outside those parentheses. It's not inside the parentheses, it's outside of it. So if I come back to my formula sheet and I look at this part right here, and if I have a minus that's outside, that's telling me that my graph is going to move down c spaces. So in this case, this is telling me that my graph is going to move down 1 space, right? Not spaces, but space. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back to my y values that I had here, and I'm going to subtract 1 from each of those. Okay, so 2 minus 1 is 1, 4 minus 1 is 3, 3 minus 1 is 2, 6 minus 1 is 5, 8 minus 1 is 7, and 9 minus 1 is 8. Okay, now what I want y'all to take a look at is if you look at what we wrote right here and what we have right here, it's almost the same with the exception of this part. All this part here is telling me is they don't really care about this piece right here. We're just going to use this part of the graph. So look, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. What are the y values? 3, 2, 5, 7, and 8. And that's how I would do my 37. Is that making sense for 37? Paula, I know that was a question I think you had asked me. Let me pull this up just to make sure that we are good with 37. I want to make sure that you guys are okay with that.
Yes, Ray.
Yeah, okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that we're good with this one here. So, like I said, guys, to me, what helps me do these problems is using that formula sheet. That formula sheet is going to be like super helpful. I sent it to you guys again in the announcement that I sent out yesterday. I sent you all that announcement so that y'all will have that info. Okay, so make sure that you don't have to print it. If you can print it if you want to, but if you want to say open it up and just keep it in an open tab. If you want to download it and put it in like your little notes taking app like Notability or something like that, or a note taker or whatever, you can definitely do that as well. Okay. So let me keep moving on here, and I know Liz had 42, so let's go to 42. And let's take a look. Perfect. This is a good question. I'm glad you asked it. So let's see if we can take a look at how I'm going to do 42. So 42, and then I'm going to pull up my messages on Tono because I know, yeah, somebody wanted me to do 45 and through 49. So we'll definitely get to the rest of those problems as well. Okay. Guys, I'm going to share one more thing with you guys before we continue. Let me see if I can do this. Here we go. Here we go. Let me share my. Okay, so I'm going to scroll right here. This is what I'm looking at, y'all. So for problems like 42, I'm going to use what I have right here. So I want you to notice something. It says f plus g with the letter x equals f of x plus g of x. And the same thing happens, y'all, whether I'm adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing, okay? So when I look at this here, and then I come back to my problem that I have, which is here in 42, and I look at this part, this just tells me I'm going to find f of negative 2, I'm going to find g of negative 2, and then because we're adding, we're going to add those together. So let me show you how I'm going to do this. F of negative 2 means let's go to the x-axis when x equals negative 2, right there. The f, y'all, is the blue graph. I'm going to go up to hit that graph. When we go up, look what number we hit. We hit the number 4. Then I'm going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to go to x equals negative 2, and now I want to hit g. So I got to go up again, but this time I only go up to 3. So for that one, my answer is going to be 7. Okay? So look, let me clean this up, and we'll do the same thing for the next one. Look, we're going to go f of negative 1. Oops. And it's not a plus this time, y'all. There's a minus there. Then I'm going to do g of negative 1, and we're going to subtract those numbers. Okay, so look, I'm going to do some green. Here's negative 1. Remember, f is my blue function. If I go up, I only have to go up 1 spot. Then I'm going to put a minus because there is a minus there. Okay. I'm going to come back to negative 1. Now I'm going to go to the g. How many spaces do I got to move up? 2 spots. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Okay. So let's do this one again. All right, look at the next one. It's fg of 0. That means that they're going to be multiplied. So remember, I'm going to do this in red, y'all. So remember, what does this mean? This means let's go to the x-axis when x equals 0, and we want to hit the f. Well, you notice we're already hitting the graph of f. That number is 0. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to go up to hit the g. How many spaces do we got to move up?
1.
Just 1. And 0 times 1 is still 0, right? Okay. Now we're going to do this a fourth time, I'm sorry. And look, we're dividing. So we're going to go, what's f of -1 and g of -1? Okay. So let me clean this mess up. Let me come back in green. F of -1, we're going to go up. We only got to move up 1 spot, right? And then we're going to go to g. How many spaces up? 2. And there are my answers. So we got 7, -1, 0, and 1/2. And so really what I'm doing here, y'all, I'm just using the picture that I have to try to answer those questions, okay? Liz, is that better for 42?
Yes, actually, I figured that one out after I think I had asked you on number 17 for the one of the exercises you had given us, and I figured it out after a while. So yes,
Okay.
I forgot about that one. So it's just really 48 and 49, but that's good.
Okay,
Good to review.
Okay, great. So I see you got 48 and 49. One of our classmates, y'all, asked me to do 45 through 49. So let's do those. And then again, if there's any other questions you guys come up with, y'all, let me know. I'm happy to help, okay? So look, let's take a look at 45. And 45 here, y'all, says we want to use these tables to find f of g of 3. So again, first thing I'm going to do, y'all, I'm going to stop sharing this real quick. I do want to share, where is it? I want to share this part. This is still my formula sheet. This is the last part here on the formula sheet, y'all. So that little thing, it's not a multiplication sign. It's called the composition. Some people call it fog, like sereno, right? Looks like fog. Okay, and so the way I see this is, look, there's my f, there's my g, there's my x. The way these letters come in order are the same way in order I'm going to put them here, but using parentheses, okay? So look, I'm going to follow the same kind of thing here. Oops. And let me share my screen again with you guys one more time. Boom, there we go. Okay, so when I'm doing this problem here, the way I'm going to think of this is, look, f of g of 3. So how do I find g of 3? Number one, I got to look at this one because this is the one that has the g. This number here is telling me what the x number is. So when the x number is 3, the g value is going to be 4. So this is going to be now f of the number 4. So now the question is, how do I find f of 4? Well, this is the table that has the f. So again, the number on the inside refers to the x. So when x is 4, f of 4 is 5. So my answer there would be 5, right? And then I'll do 46 exactly the same way. So let's take a look at the way this is written. This is g of f of 1. So again, the first thing I'm looking at here is the f. Remember, that number there inside is the x. So when x is 1, the f value is 5. Okay. And then when I'm going to find g of 5, I'm going to say, look, let me come over here to the g one. When x is 5, the g value is 7. So that one there is going to be 7. Right? Okay, and then look, so you can see 45 and 46 go pretty quick. We'll do 47, y'all, and then we'll do 48 and 49. So 47 here says, here's the tables for f and g, just like we did 45 and 46. And it says, why can't we figure out what this one is? I don't know. Let's see if we can figure it out. Again, same way. I'm going to write f of g of 1. So remember, I got to do this first. So I'm going to look at this piece here. This number here is telling me when x is 1, what's the g number?
9.
Oh, it's 9, right? Okay. Now, I want to find f of 9. Remember what this is. That is the x number. If I look at my table, though, the only x numbers I have are 3, 4, and 6. I don't have an x number for 9. So I can't do it, okay? So what I'm going to say here, when I look at my answer, it says, look, from the given table, g of 1 we knew was 9. And f of g of 1 equals f of 9, and we cannot figure that out. We can't find f of 9. This is the part that we can't do, okay? So that's 47. So now, look, let's do 48. Guys, 48 is going to be kind of similar to the way we did 42. But again, instead of doing pluses and stuff like that, we're doing the composition. So let me pull it up. Here we go, so we can see it. So let's find this piece first. Remember what this means. This means we're going to find f of g of 1. Okay, I want to find g of 1 first. So here is the red one is my g function. I'm going to go to when x equals 1, and I want to figure out what value do I hit when I'm at the g. If I'm right between 2 and 4, I got to be at 3, right? Okay, so we did the first part. Let me get rid of this. Now, I'm going to use blue because that's the next one we have. We want to find f of 3. So I'm going to go here to the x-axis. When x equals 3, notice I'm already hitting the f value. I'm already hitting the f function. We're right there. So that number is going to be
0.
0 because we're not going up and we're not going down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if we can do the next one the same way. So look, I'm going to write it like this. G of f of 2. Again, I want you to notice the order. This one is first, so it's out here. This one is second, so it's here. This one's inside, so it's inside the middle. Okay, so let me clean. Okay, first thing we're going to find is f of 2. So here's 2, and I want to hit the f function. I got to move down just one space. So this is negative because we're going down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's see if we can find g of -1. So I'm going to go over here to -1, and I want to hit the g function, the red one. I got to move down also.
-1.
One space. So our answer is -1. And like I said, y'all, I don't know if your numbers are exactly the same or they're slightly different, but the process would still be the same. Okay, so now we're going to find g of 0. So I'm going to go right here to 0. And then you notice I got to move up. So we're going to move up one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then now I'm going to find g of 1. So I'm going to go over here to 1, and I'm going to move up 1, 2, 3, right?
3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's how I'm doing 48.
0.
You all feel okay about 48 now?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Just making sure, y'all. Okay, and then the other person who had asked me can we do number 49? Yes, we can. So guys, look, this is just kind of like the way we did 47 a little while ago, right? So let's see if we can do this. Remember what we're going to find. G of f of 3. So this is the one I'm going to look at first. F of 3 is
7.
7, good. And then G of 7, now I'm going to look at this one, and G of
8.
7 is going to be
8.
8. You got it.
Okay.
Right. So I hope you guys are hoping, man, I hope you put like 48 and 49 and all those problems on the test, because those we know how to do. All right, let's see. F of G of 4. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at G of 4. G of 4 is going to be, 7, good. And then, let me clean up some of this mess. And then we're going to look at f of 7, which should be
3.
3. And then we got one last one right here, G of 7. So let me clean up some of this mess. Let's go like this. We're using this one only. So G of 7 is
8.
8. And then do we have a value on the top where we have 8?
No,
No. So we can't do it, y'all? We're just going
undefined.
to say it's undefined, yeah. Even though we could do the first part, but if we can't do the second, then we're going to say it's undefined. So good, good, good. So let me ask y'all, those of you who are still here, so we got Liz and Paula, were there any other questions that you all want me to go over? Anything? Was there anything I missed?
For me, it was just the ones that you did with the graphs. For some reason, after staring at so many graphs, it just the F function, the G, it just kind of, they got a little confusing after a while. But I have to really like step back and read and try it.
Yeah, good. Okay, good. I'm glad it's working better, Liz. Paula, are you doing okay?
Yes, with me it was just that question for number 37.
Okay, great. So Paula, before we leave, let me see. It was quiz 2. I'm going to look at your quiz 2 right now. Let me see. Paula, I got you right here, quiz 2. And it was one of the questions that you were asking me about, number 7.
I believe for this one it was 6.
Yeah, I see it right now,
For
Paula.
my work.
So I don't want, yeah, I see it right now. I don't want you to sweat because I just fixed it for you and gave you credit completely for that problem. So you're all good.
And what if I want to